The book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. For those who love to read but don't have the time to read, we have summarized 7 experiences from it in this video. Even the simplest fitness routine presents challenges for so many of us. We always seem to come up with a justification for skipping the weekend run or going to the gym after work. But what would it be like to spend your life without any justifications for not giving everything you have? You'll discover out in these summaries, since it is exactly how the author, David Goggins, lives. We'll embark on a quest to learn more about this amazing man's remarkable life. We'll learn what it takes to become one of the fittest people on the planet, from his difficult childhood and overweight 20s to his astonishing turnaround into one of the world's fittest soldiers. We'll learn how Goggins turned his life around to accomplish the very impossible, and how you might mimic his success, through searing honesty and amazing anecdotes. You'll learn the following in this video using these 6 crucial experiences. What awaits you at Badwater 135? Why Goggins nearly quit the military. How his upbringing molded him. First key experience. His abusive, demanding father severely disrupted David Goggins' early years. Many American kids view childhood as a carefree period filled with play, safety, and parental affection. Sadly, David Goggins' situation didn't turn out that way. Goggins, who was born in New York in 1975, was never able to experience the simple pleasures of childhood. Instead, Goggins was a slave to his cruel father, Trunnis, from the young age of 6, along with his mother and older brother. Trunnis was a self-made businessman who ran a roller disco rink with his young family as his only employees. Goggins' father would take his wife and kids out to his skating rink almost every night of the week, where he would have them work non-stop until midnight. David was tasked with taking care of the skating shoes between the ages of 6 and 8. His mother would prepare their meal on a hot plate in the rink's office, and after the kids had finally completed working at about midnight, she would also put them to bed there. Unfortunately, Goggins had trouble falling asleep due to the loud music coming from the dance floor, which made it difficult for him to focus throughout class. Even while this demanding schedule of school and late-night employment would have been uncomfortable for any young child, Goggins' father's terrible violence made life all but unbearable. David frequently seen his father belting his mother when she dared to disobey him. She once dared to take David to the hospital when he had a serious ear infection. Even when his kid's health was in jeopardy, Trunnis detested spending money on his family. Trunnis beat his mother to a pulp when she came home from the hospital. David also received a belting whenever he attempted to step in to defend his mother. He frequently had to cover up the bruising and enraged red welts his father's belt had left behind. Thankfully, David and his mother were able to flee from their tormentor when David was 8 years old. His mother successfully persuaded his father to give her a credit card in her name, and with the aid of a helpful neighbor, she organized her escape. David and his mother drove to the little Indiana town of Brazil after hastily leaving Trunnis' home, where they began a new life without Trunnis. However, the sweetness of their newfound freedom was fleeting. Why? Because he decided to stay with their father despite his violence. David saw his older brother very infrequently after they departed. Unfortunately, David's existence in Indiana wouldn't be without its challenges. He experienced too. Goggins managed to get away from his father, but he was unable to escape the pain he had caused in the past. Even though David Goggins managed to flee his controlling father, the rest of his childhood wasn't any simpler. He would struggle with poverty and his prior problems for the remainder of his formative years in a small town in Indiana. After the first rush of escaping Trunnis passed, David and his mother had to confront a new, harsh reality: they were now desperately poor. Trunnis wouldn't offer his wife and child more than a meager amount to help them get by in their new lives. David and his mother survived off of her part-time job, a $123 monthly welfare payment, and their rent of $7 per month in a public housing complex. As if living in poverty wasn't difficult enough, David's early childhood trauma started to affect him when he was in the 3rd grade. After years of being mistreated by his father, David began to stutter nervously, lose his hair, and develop discolored patches of skin. Why did this occur? David became aware that he had toxic stress as an adult. This condition occurs when young children who have experienced severe abuse go through long-term alterations to their brain chemistry, resulting in a persistent state of fight or flight. In other words, David had gone through so much that his body and mind were always on high alert for danger. As David soon discovered, the damaging impact of toxic stress on children's memories is one of its negative effects. Even the most talented child will struggle to recall what they have already learnt in school when they have this issue. In David's situation, this meant that some of his teachers called him stupid. He already endured daily abuse and scorn as the only black student in his class. David started doing the only thing he could think of to survive when faced with the possibility of being permanently expelled from school and housed in a special needs institution. On his assignments and on significant standardized tests, he began to cheat. What was the outcome? His schooling suffered greatly as a result of his professor's ignorance, who permitted him to stay in class. Unbeknownst to everybody else, David had a very limited reading ability when he entered his teenage years. Key Knowledge 3. Goggins' potential as a young man was limited by fear and disillusionment. David still had difficulties with school and literacy as a teen. But in his late teens, he eventually settled on a specific course of action: enlist in the U.S. Air Force. He put in the effort, picked up reading, and after being accepted into Air Force training, he was encouraged to become a military man. Unfortunately, he would not have an easy road to success. David's goal was to join the Air Force as a pararescueman, a unique class of soldier with a focus on rescuing injured pilots by parachuting into combat zones. Swimming would be the hardest exam David would have to pass in order to complete his training. David was 12 years old before he even saw a pool because his mother had not been able to pay for his swimming lessons. This meant that when he started military training, he sadly lacked the caliber of swimming ability required to pass the selection process. After becoming paralyzed by dread and encountering progressively difficult swimming hurdles, he ultimately decided to give up. David exploited his tendency to the blood disorder sickle cell anemia, which was discovered by a regular medical test, as justification for leaving the military on medical grounds. He was about to go even though he knew he should stay and face his difficulties, but fear overcame him. By 1999, David, then 24 years old, was working the night shift as a pest exterminator in a dead-end job and consuming food to soothe his disappointment at having failed to join the military. He gained a lot of weight after being released from the Air Force, going from 255 pounds to about 300. He made a stop for a chocolate milkshake and a box of donuts on the way home as soon as his pest extermination job was through, and that was only breakfast number one. After that, he would take a car to his mother's place, where she had already made his typical breakfast. Unbelievably, this included a large amount of sugary cereal, 6 eggs, 10 bacon rashers, and 8 cinnamon pastries. Sadly, David was turning to food to help him deal with the harsh truths of his life, such as the fact that he lacked education and skills and was destined for a life of inactivity. Fortunately, the drive he required to improve his unsatisfactory existence was just around the corner. Primary Knowledge 4. Goggins transformed his life and body in an effort to join the Navy SEALs. After devouring yet another enormous meal, Goggins watched something on television one morning that would forever alter his life, a program about Navy SEALs in training. SEAL training is the hardest in the world, only the finest make it through. SEALs are widely considered as the most elite fighting force in the world. Goggins was mesmerized by the mental courage, resolve to battle through pain, and physical prowess of the SEAL recruits as he watched them struggle through dirt, sweat, and tears. He had never wanted anything more than he did just then to join them. Goggins called Navy recruitment offices all throughout the country over the course of the following few weeks, appealing for the chance to enroll in SEAL training. Fortunately, there was a training program available for former military recruits who desired to rejoin the Navy and become active once more. The program might be used by Goggins to enroll in the SEAL training program, it was said. Unluckily, there were 2 issues. First of all, this initiative was scheduled to end in 3 months. Goggins was also far too big to enter the Navy. He weighed 297 pounds, which was over the 191-pound limit. This meant that if he wanted to have any chance of trying out for the SEALs, he had less than 3 months to lose more than 100 pounds. Goggins persisted and started his task. He established a strenuous workout schedule for the following 3 months. He got on his exercise bike every day at 4:30 a.m. and rode for 2 hours. He would then travel to the closest pool and swim for 2 hours. After that, it was time to hit the gym for a challenging workout that included circuit training and at least 5 sets of 200 repetitions for each major muscle group. He would get back on the exercise bike after the gym and ride for a while more. It was back on the bike for 2 more grueling hours after dinner. Unbelievably, he shed 25 pounds in 2 weeks, and within a month, he started adding daily 4-mile runs to his schedule. Goggins was in excellent shape as the registration deadline approached. He enrolled in the program and went through a tough training phase that involved going 5.5 days with little sleep and enduring difficult exercise routines while being buried in sand and water. But Goggins persevered, finished the program, and eventually realized his dream of joining the Navy SEALs. Experience a Key 5. The most outstanding qualifications for Goggins are in ultrarunning. Goggins had accomplished his goal of becoming a Navy SEAL, but after a while he began to feel the need for fresh challenges. What would put a limit on his physical prowess the way SEAL training once did? He discovered the solution in 2005, ultrarunning, or extremely long distance running. Goggins started ultrarunning to help a worthy cause. Goggins made the decision to raise money for the families that the other Navy SEALs' deaths in an Afghan military operation left behind. He could then combine his desire to finish the hardest foot race in the world with his desire to help others. The race he selected was the 135-mile Badwater 135, which features the most difficult elevation changes and stifling heat of any race in the world. It starts below sea level in California's Death Valley and ends at an elevation of 8,374 feet, earning it the nickname the Ultramarathon to end all ultramarathons. Furthermore, the Badwater 135 race is always held in July, a month when Death Valley frequently records record-breaking temperatures. Amazingly, top competitors finish the program in less than 48 hours. Goggins had to complete another 100-mile race in order to meet the requirements of Badwater 145, according to the event's organizers. In order to win the 100-mile race through the center of the city, the San Diego one day, he set out to do it. Amazingly, he finished his first race without doing any additional training. In reality, the year prior to this event, the only cardio he had been doing was 20 minutes per week on a cross-trainer in the gym. Despite suffering significantly along the course and losing control of his bladder and bowels from tiredness, he finished the marathon in just 19 hours and even ran an additional mile to be sure he had truly finished. Goggins was approved to compete in the 2006 Badwater 135 after this victory. He worked as hard as he could to prepare for the race this time. He not only meticulously examined the course he would run on, but he also practiced in the same kind of intense heat that the marathon would be held in. On race day, all of Goggins' preparation paid off as he finished the Badwater 135 in just 30 hours, placing fifth. 6 key encounters. Everyone is capable of emulating Goggins' achievement with a lot of effort. People frequently ask Goggins how they may succeed like him because he is an accomplished ultrarunner and one of just 2 African American SEALs in the United States. The key takeaway from his first piece of advice is work ethic. The unfortunate reality is that our culture has become dependent on instant cures. But according to Goggins, there is no quick fix, only hard work, if you want to master yourself and realize your full potential. Even if you are extremely talented and passionate, you will not be able to soar without a strong work ethic. Goggins' determination to put in a lot of effort is what made all of his accomplishments possible. Everything else in his life is secondary to working hard, whether it's in the gym or as a SEAL, working hard is his top focus. Interestingly, when he stresses the need of hard effort to people, they frequently respond that they lack the time to put in the lengthy hours necessary to accomplish their objectives. They contend that they must instead prioritize spending time with their families or working at their desk jobs. Goggins, however, rejects this justification. He believed that the only thing these doubters needed to accomplish was win the morning. Goggins wakes up early to do it, which is why he has accomplished so much. You must be an early bird as well if you want to have a chance at a similar level of success. Goggins gets up at 4 in the morning and immediately starts running 6 to 10 miles. He will arrive home by 5:15 a.m., ready to take a shower and have breakfast, because he left so early. He then rides 25 miles to work, getting there by 7:30 a.m., as if this weren't enough. And his rigorous exercise routine doesn't end there. He'll fit in a workout or another 6-mile run on a nearby beach during his lunch break. He cycles home again after work, and by the time he returns at 7 o'clock, he's managed to get in 50 miles of cycling, at least 10 more miles of running, and a 9 to 5 desk job. So start challenging yourself tomorrow morning by rising early. Since you can succeed if David Goggins did, you can too. Final conclusion. These summaries' main takeaway is this. David Goggins overcame a violent, upsetting, and poor background and came out with the desire to enlist. He eventually became a super-fit Navy SEAL and a successful ultramarathon runner after conquering his swimming challenges and drastically reducing his weight. It is possible to emulate his accomplishment, all it takes is a tremendous amount of effort and an early morning start. Thanks for watching. To learn more from this book, get the book on Amazon with the link in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, comment, like and share with your friends and family.